So I just finished a book and I don't know how to review it. Like, I love the book, but it's like a weird mashup between Western, horror, and fantasy. And it's like a weird odyssey, including witches, ghouls, ghosts, spirits, demon like creatures. And I'm talking about Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. It's a Western horror, and I just finished the book and I loved the book. It's a Western setup, so it's in the early 1800s in USA, especially towards the Wild West, so called. So I don't have much idea about the history or geography of US, especially during that time. My only knowledge comes from spaghetti western movies. But basically it's in the early 1800s, after it's set after the Civil War. Black people who were taken as slaves during the history of America, they have been set free. So we are following this ragtag group of people who are traveling to hunt down this witch called Sadie Grace. So Sadie Grace is a witch who stays in this small town called Riddle, and the people in Riddle, they have been having some hardships. Like, some people are dying mysteriously, then the crops are withering and all that things are happening, and people are like, like, this is because of Sadie Grace. And some people put up a bounty on her head after after some people died. So people from across the country are traveling to this place called Riddle, and they are trying to kill Sadie Grace. So it's a story about this witch, Sadie Grace, who she actually is. And it's also about this group of people who meet on the road and they become not friends exactly, not found family exactly, but they sort of like band together out of necessity, and they make their way towards Riddle, towards Sadie Grace. And while it's a story of a journey, it's a cross country adventure journey sort of a story at its core. And they have different, setbacks, obstacles that come up in the journey towards Sadie Grace. So that is basically the premise. So the best part about this book is that it's weird. So all I knew about this book is that it's a western, it's a horror, it's a folk horror, and it is weird. So I thought, like, see, weird books can be of different flavors. So it can be weird like American Gods, it can be weird like Master and Margarita, it can be weird like like magical realism books. So the weirdness can be of different flavors, and I was not sure what I was getting into. The moment the first weird thing happened, I was like, this is my jam. Like, I live for this kind of thing. Like, inexplicable things are happening. You can't, like, like, you can make understand where the plot is going towards. You can understand what is happening in the story, but certain events are happening that you can't make sense of. You can't explain why things are happening, but things are not confusing, things are not convoluted, things are still making sense. That is my kind of weird. In the main group that we have, there are two cowboys. So one is a black guy who was a medic in the army, and the other is a white guy who was also in the army. So this black guy medic, he saved this guy's life. Moses is the name of the black guy, and the white guy is Ned. And the Moses saved Ned's life. And since then, like, it has been 5 years since that happened, and they have been traveling together. And now they are looking to go back to this place where Moses' family lives. And on their way in a saloon, this older guy comes in with a younger child, and this guy is like, oh, this is my child and he is injured, and this witch, you know, put a hex on my child or something like that. And Moses is, he's the only, like the medical person in the saloon. He takes a look at the child and he quickly determines two things. One, that child is actually a girl, not a boy. And secondly, that child does not belong to that old man. The name of the old man is Tom Goggins. So they decide to travel together. So, to ensure the safety of the child, they decide to travel along with Tom Goggins. And then they come across this farm where there is a farmer's wife staying, and the farmer has died. So the farmer's wife also joins them because she does not trust Tom Goggins that much, and she is, she wants to protect the little girl who is called Rabbit in the story. So the name of the farmer's wife is Rose, and they start making their way towards the witch. On the way, things happen. They go through places that are weird, that are cursed, that are scary, that are haunted, and they come across a bunch of people and creatures that are like, from the local folklore. Some are from like, like local made up folklore sort of a thing, like this woodsman who haunts the forest of the, like the outskirts in that area or something like that. Places that play tricks on your mind, places that play with time, places that consume you, sometimes literally. So it's a story about not just people preying on you, but also the land preying on people. So the most intriguing member of the group is the little girl Rabbit, who does not speak, and she has this placid look on her face, no expression, and she is like Rose and Ned and Moses. They are curious about, Rabbit's family, Rabbit's origin, where she came from, why is she quiet, and they try to, like protect her in their own ways. And then there are the bad guys in the story. The bad guys, they range from like unhinged pure evil to people who meant well in their lives, but they made poor choices, and now they are, like stuck in this pathway to hell. You have people who basically found themselves in impossible situations, and they made choices that help them survive, but at what cost? So, and now they're preying on other people. So it's basically how difficult the living situation at the time was. And the author Alex Grecian, he has sprinkled in all these like folkloric elements and fantasy and fantastical and speculative elements to sort of showcase that it was the time, it was the circumstances that created all these evil. Okay, one entity was evil for the sake of being evil. That is different. That I'm not going to talk about. But the other sort of like the bad guys, they were made because of, the situation they were in, and it sort of to me felt like a metaphor of, the hard times, the hardship that people faced during those times. So we see people who mean well, who try to do good things in their life, but they inadvertently make the wrong choices. They, assume the wrong things and do the wrong thing and suffer the consequences of that. So that is basically the story. And the only problem that I had with the story is that it's a very dark book. Okay, dark things happen, like animal cruelty and all that. So, but the tone of the book is very, like, not very light, but it's on the lighter side. Like, it's kind of comical. And I understand why the author tried to do that, because since it is, touted as a folk horror, so the author tried to have that, detachment from the characters of the book. And the author tried to have it as a, like a fable sort of a story. Like in fables, fables are not character focused, right? The fables, they have just the themes that they explore, the meaning that they try to, tell people that, like, you should do this in life, you shouldn't do that in life. So it played out as a fable. But what happened when difficult, like when the climax happened, when difficult things started happening to the characters, I was not that, like, taken aback. Like, I was not that affected. So at some point, I felt that the character work is great. The characters are distinct, they have their own voices. Oh, and the audiobook narrator did a fantastic job in doing all the voices and all. So, yeah, so the characters were fun to follow, but they lacked a certain depth because of the lightness of the tone. That when, like, people were getting hurt or something sad was happening, it did not hit as much emotionally as I would have wanted it to. But I understand that it's not the point of the book to be a very emotionally impactful book. It's a book that is meant to be, like, thematically deep and dark, but tonally sort of playful, sort of irreverent, sort of light. So I understand what the author was trying to do, that, all these difficult things are happening to these people, but still at the end of the day, it is ridiculous to us. Like, it is not that deep to us, it is kind of funny to us that, like, all these weird things are happening. And yeah, another point that I want to talk about is that this book on the surface seems very random. That, like, random people are joining the posse, and people are dying randomly, and weird shit is going down and all that. But then towards the end, you think, was all of that random, or did it actually have a convergence, like a converging point? So yeah, that is one interesting thing that I felt like, that was explored in the book. That everything that happens in your life, it might seem random, but when you take a step back, it sometimes has a pattern to it that only makes sense when you distance yourself from it. It's a story about, like, fate. It's a story about power. It's a story about corruption, like how power can corrupt people. And it's a story about people trying to do their best. It's a story about people making choices they feel are the best, but is that really the best choice? So that's it for today. I can't talk too much about it without making it spoilery. And yeah, let me know if you want a spoilery chat about the book. Let me know down below. Have you read the book? Do you want to read the book? Do you like genre mashup book? So this book came out in 2023, and it also has a sequel, Rose of Jericho, that came out last year. So I'm gonna read it. I love the book. I gave it 4.5 because although I loved the book, I enjoyed it thoroughly, but it was not emotionally impactful as much as I wanted it to be. So that's my review of Red Rabbit by Alex Grecian. And see you guys in the next one. Bye.